So today, our opponents feel the wrath of our free spells every single turn. This deck gets wilder and wilder as the turns go on. Hey everyone, Hex here, and today I'm casting free spells, lots of free spells every single turn. That's right, your opponents better have interaction for us today because it's back by popular demand. You guessed it, Arcane Bombardment is even better now since Karlov Manor was released due to some very cheap burn spells. Firstly, let's shout out a neat little synergy between our two 6-drops in the deck. So as you probably know, Arcane Bombardment is a great 6-drop enchantment that lets you cast all spells exiled underneath it for free when you cast an instant or sorcery for the first time each turn. An instant or sorcery is randomly exiled from your graveyard under the bombardment each time you do just that. Well, pair this with Chimil the Inner Sun. It's another 6-drop, but this one says your spells can't be countered, but also at the beginning of your end step discover 5. That's right, you get to trigger your bombardment on your turn without even casting a spell from your hand. To survive until turn 6, we're packing some life gain in Union of the Third Path, which also draws cards, Helix and Sacred Fire, which also burn your opponent's face. When any of these are exiled with the bombardment, you're gaining serious life and doing some serious damage every single turn. Other burn includes a Lightning Strike, Play with Fire, and now standard legal Shock. 1-mana instants in this deck are the best draws when you get to turn 6 or so. We have bombardment staples in Burn Down the House to make some devils or wipe the board, and our good friend Big Score. The early ramp is great and also a great way to discard burn spells for your bombardment, plus the card draw at instant speed always ensures you get to activate your bombardment on your opponent's turn. Today I've got 24 lands with the Surveil lands being particularly good for us, and that's the deck. As you may have seen in the description, this deck was very strong for me today. Burn decks are very good since Karlov Manor was released, and pairing it with Bombardment makes this the best Bombardment deck out there in Standard. Helix and Shock are the best additions from Karlov Manor for any Bombardment deck. I do really want to hear your thoughts on this deck though. Have you paired Bombardment and Chimil together? Whilst you're doing that, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't and then smash that like button. Your support for this channel is fantastic, and I'll catch you again in the next video. Alright then, on the play, game 1 of our Boros Bombardment deck. And the Surveil land is a perfect turn 1 land for us here. Opponent with an island, and we will just play an untapped land and hold open the Helix. Looks like they're on Dimir, so we will just keep playing our lands where we can. And not worry too much, we have Burned Down the House to get us up out of any trouble, but we can Union here whilst they are tapped out. So one thing about bombardment decks I like is having some incremental life gain, and I think the Lightning Helix has been fantastic for that in this particular set. So we can make sure we're still alive when we get to that all-important turn 6, where we get to drop our Arcane Bombardment or our Inner Sun. Opponent looks like they are on some kind of Dimir brew, not entirely sure what they are up to. They may well have a counter magic, so got to be aware of that. But let's shoot this mechanic now, because it does drop a artifact, and if we do use the Burn Down the House later, I want to make sure that the opponent doesn't have any more creatures on the board. But as you can see, our life total is still 22, and we've managed to get 5 lands down. That's another Vandal for them. So I was playing Boros Burn off camera, and I think the deck is extremely strong. I think I went 18 and 6, but wanted to find a way to incorporate the Bombardment and Chimil into the mix, and that's why I have come out with this brew today. And I think Bombardment and Chimil are fantastic. And if we can get them both on the battlefield at the same time, it is backbreaking for our opponents. I think my burn deck went 18 and 6, so it's pretty impressive. But we get to play Chimil here. So spells we control can't be countered, but at the beginning of our end step, we get to discover 5. Hits everything in our deck except for the bombardments. So once we have a bombardment on the battlefield, the Chimil does the bombardment's job in our end step to make sure that we hit a spell every turn. We do remove it or put it back in our hand, and they are dropping the Invasion of Armenket here. But there's nothing in our graveyard they're going to want to hit. We don't have any creatures in our graveyard, so the invasion is Not particularly great in this instance. We go down to 11. You can see how much that life gain, that early life gain has kept us in the game here. And play with fire. We're going to go for burn down the house now. They could well have a counter spell here, which they don't. I think they would have countered something earlier on if they had that. But we've cleared the board. Gurgling Anointer. Okay. So they're probably a second turn or second draw, card draw deck. We'll just shoot that whilst we can because we get to take both their creatures for just one spell there. And we're back up to 14. There's that Jetmir's Garden. All right, well, take 2 of our Inner Sun here. See if we can find some juice. We discover 5 into a play with fire. Okay, a couple of bombardments there was a little bit annoying. Burn down the house on top. Yeah, I don't think so. I'm looking for an Arcane Bombardment here. That's what this deck is, so. Put it with an Anointer. And Overwhelmed Archivist to draw a card, and the Anointer will get a counter because of that. I have a combo deck in the pipeline with the Gurgling Anointer. Just to play with fire the face. I'm looking for some gas. There's a Union of the Third Path, a vital card in our deck. Maybe I should have kept that Burn Down the House on top of our deck earlier, but we can just dig away here. We're going to find something in a minute. There's Arcane Bombardment. And once we get the bombardment down with Chimil, we should be good. Sacred Fire. Okay, well, we can shoot this Archivist and gain some more life back. And look, we're already back up to 18. And Eiganjo of Synthesis. Okay. So loads of value for them. Guess they're missing something like a Sheldred because they would have had a lot of life gain in this deck. And Lightning Strike, but we're here for the bombardment, which we will play here. And we have Lightning Strike for their turn, but this is where we discover 5 on ours. Big score, not the greatest for us, but we get to draw some cards, make some treasure, and we hit a Union with our bombardment, so gain some more life, draw some more cards. And this is what I like to do here. And I think we're in a pretty decent shape. We're going to be gaining life every single turn, our turn, plus we can just Lightning Strike them now and they scoop it up. They see the writing on the wall there. Alright, on the draw. I do like this hand. I do like the big score. And yeah, we should be pretty good here. Opponent on Temur, it looks like. And a Sleep Cursed Fairy. Okay. Not a card we can easily target, but it's certainly a card we can easily board wipe when we get the chance. Thrill Seeker for our opponent. So, already know what they're up to. They're up to some kind of Soul Cauldron, Agatha's Soul Cauldron combo, aren't they? With the Fairy and the Thrill Seeker and the Kami. Opponent with a Seed Shark. Yeah, I've played their deck a lot of times, so we'll just make sure we try and get in the way of their combos where we can. And we will big score now because they are playing blue and I don't want my big score countered. So next turn we get to drop our Inner Sun if we need to. Opponent with a Thrill Seeker. We might be just wiping the board though because they do have a Seed Shark and they do not attack. Okay. So the good thing about Chimil is it will make all of our spells uncountable. But I think once they are tapped out, we get an opportunity here to blow up the board. Even though things in their graveyard is maybe where they want to be. There is the Kami. But the door is now open for us to big score. I'm looking for Arcane Bombardment. We always have a way here to deal with the Kami if we need to. And I think I will. They could go infinite mana if we're not careful. But yeah, our hand is stacked. I mean, we're going to be great. We are in no rush here. So they play the Collector's Vault. So, looks like they're going to be digging for something. Omen Hawker, yeah. Another card you want to exile with your Cauldron. And a Shock. Alright, well, let's drop the Inner Sun here and start getting some value with this. Just shoot this, I guess. And Chimil is going to discover 5 into Burn Down the House. Maybe we should have... no, they scoop it up anyway. Alright then, game number 3 with our Arcane Bombardment Boros deck using some Karlov Manor cards, specifically Shock and Lightning Helix. Shock is a great cheap way to turn on the bombardment on or your opponent's turn, and the Helix is a great way to gain some life. But we don't need that Shock on top of our deck there, so we'll pop that in the graveyard. Opponent, it looks like they're on Selesnya here, and that is Skrelv and the Ida Apprentice. Okay, there's a Union for us. Well, we can play another Surveil land, Jetmir's Garden. Don't need more land, so we will, I think, just play with fire this Apprentice. I think keeping it alive, I mean, we're going to struggle to keep up with that if they just keep their Skrelv. Would have to at one point take out Skrelv to take out their other creature, so just deal with that now. Yeah, they look like they're on Selesnya, so they probably have ways to deal with artifacts or enchantments from us. Get Lost is the best way to deal with our enchantments, and it's the card I do not want to see any opponent play against us. But yeah, our life total back up to 26. And if we can find an Arcane Bombardment and get that Union back underneath it, we can keep gaining life, keep drawing cards. Looks like our opponent is a little bit mana screwed here, unlike us. But that's why the Surveil lands are so great. They've fixed our draw steps a little bit. And we could always fire off one of these burn down the houses, but don't see the point. The opponent's not doing anything themselves, so we can just follow suit and not do anything ourselves. We can just pass the turn. And Sejinja, okay. So artifact-themed deck. And the Archivist is now a 2-3, which I'm sure is going to attack us. And our life total drops down to 24. So we could burn down the house here. I don't see the point just yet. Let's get down our Chimil. Hope I'm saying that right. Chimil or Chimil. And let's see what we discover into. Could always discover into a burn down the house. Union. Okay, well, we're going to gain, what, 6 life there. Go up to 30, draw a card. And if opponent wants to put a load of creatures in the battlefield, which is going to wipe the board next turn. But I really want my Arcane Bombardment. That's what I'm here to do. That's what you're here to see. There's a Clay Champion. Okay, so some counters are going to go somewhere. Okay, go on the Archivist. So it does put it out of range, actually, or burn down the house. But, I mean, we've got to play with fire to knock off its last power. That is Arcane Bombardment. The point is, if I play that now, I think we could die. Like, their creatures are going to gain a lot of value, a lot of power. We are on 21, but I think it's best we just deal with the board now, and then we can maybe bombardment next turn. We have our Chimil on the battlefield, so we can always... we're always going to hit a spell with our bombardment. It is a guarantee, which is what I love about the card. So none of our instants or sorceries cost less than 6. Well, everything is an instant or sorcery, so... Big score. Seem to always hit big score when... Maybe I don't always want it, but it does draw us some cards and make us some treasure. And the opponent here is playing Nissa. Okay. So that's going to destroy our artifact, I am guessing. Yes, it is. Alright, well, let's just shoot Nissa whilst we get the chance. So unfortunately there, but Nissa has to go. Guess we can just bombardment here, and then we have the Union, which we can cast on our opponent's turn. Could have held back that Lightning Strike to do it on our turn here, I guess, and then we would have triggered the bombardment, but doesn't matter too much. Opponent with Mondrak. Not sure why they've got Mondrak in their deck. But let's Union here. We can shock our opponent's face. And we have Shock underneath the bombardment. So every instant or sorcery we cast now on our opponent's turn and our turn is going to shock our opponent. We can burn down the house here, and it's going to do 5 damage now because the Lightning Strike is underneath. And I think we've got lethal because the Lightning Helix on our opponent's turn is going to do at least 3 damage itself and the 5 damage underneath the bombardment. But we'll just wait. They could instant speed gain some life. We'll go to their end step first. In worst case, kill them on our turn. But they see the writing on the wall and they scoop it up. Alright, game number 4. We've gone 3-0. Haven't really had too many problems. And this hand looks pretty decent. Could do with some more lands along the way, but we'll get our tap land out of the way. Opponent with a mountain. And there is our Chimil again. We're very good at drawing that. 3 copies of it in our deck. Poison Dart Frog, okay. Not a card you see often. I think we'll just Helix it. It's our most mana efficient play, and 1-cost instants are what we're going to want later with our Bombardment. But we miss our land drop here. Is this going to be our first defeat? We are only on the 2 mana. The opponent didn't do anything. Do find a Elegant Parlor which we can surveil, and there's a Plains on top. I will 100% keep that card. They've got something. Questing Druid. Okay, to exile the top 2 cards of our library. Of their library. And a Prism. Alright, so not really 100% sure what they're up to at the moment. Thirsting Roots. Searching for a basic. Yeah, our hand is pretty nice. Hopefully the big skull can find something along the way. They found a swamp. Okay, so they are a Jund deck. We'll Union first, draw a card, gain some life, up to 29, play our Plains, say go. We're very much just waiting for them to make the first move, and there it is with Jaya. Making a Monk, which unfortunately for them we can destroy everything with Burn Down the House. Not a card that they're going to want to see their opponent playing, but it's kind of very important in our deck because you can blow up the board or make the 1/1s, or do kind of both if you make the 1/1s on one turn and then blow up the board the following turn to do 3 damage to your opponent. But we definitely now are in the driving seat. Now we have Chimil and Arcane Bombardment here. Can discover interplay with fire to deal with this Questing Druid. And surely they can't deal with our Bombardment when we find it. Would love an untapped red, or just an untapped land really next turn, so that we can shock on the opponent's turn. But not going to complain too much about Helix. Bombardment and the Chimil trigger. Draw some cards for the Union. So we're going to be gaining a lot of life each turn. We're going to be drawing cards every turn now. Backup Bombardment. Yeah, and this is our deck popping off a little bit. They might be able to deal with our board a little bit. If they want to deal with the Bombardment, we have another one. Into the Fire to loot away some cards. We might just have enough damage in our hand to really start sort of killing them in about 2 turns if we can get some burn spells underneath Bombardment. Bivouac. Alright, well, we don't really have to do anything here. I mean, the Chimil's going to do the work for us. Could play another Bombardment. Don't really want to. And yeah, we'll just pass the turn. Discover 5. And it is Burn Down the House, so we can make some 1/1s. And underneath the Bombardment, 2 Unions now. Alright, so we're going to be drawing a lot of cards, making a lot of life, and we're up to 55. 55 life points for us. There's a lot of life gain in Standard at the moment. Discard one of the lands. That it is rare that you only have to do 20 damage to your opponent to kill them. But can they do 55 to us? Portal is going to make us sacrifice our Devils. And we will ping our opponent for 3. But we're just going to gain a lot of life now. Basically, every single turn, aren't we? They have to deal with our Artifact and Enchantment here. Okay, I guess we'll just unleash all of our burn spells onto our opponent, see where we end up. We only trigger the Arcane Bombardment once on their turn here, but doesn't mean you only have to do it once. We can just unleash the Lightning Helix, the Shock. We'll see where their life total is after we've done all this. We'll be attacking with the Devils next turn. And then, even in the end step, the Chimil's going to trigger and we can just wipe the board, clearing our 1/1s, which would ping the opponent's face, so I'm pretty sure they are absolutely dead. We can attack with the Restless Bivouac in the meantime, and they scoop it up. Alright, game number 5. We are on a winning streak, 4-0. Our hand is okay. Let's play the untapped land here just so that we've got some kind of interaction, because next turn we're still going to only want to be playing a 1-mana spell based on the cards that are in our hand. Opponent with Case of the Filched Falcon. Okay. So maybe some kind of artifact themed deck. We'll see what they're up to. Our hand is looking a little bit weak. If they are mono blue, maybe we're going to want to find our Chimil so that all of our spells are uncounterable. Elegant Parlor there. Finds a Sacred Fire on the top. A card we're finding in the graveyard. It has flashback, so we will leave it there. And they crack their clue here to draw a card. So are we up against control? We're up against Azorius, it looks like. There's a Cryptic Coat. This is a cool card. So when it ETBs, you cloak the top card of your library, which means you cast it basically face down, and then you attach the Cryptic Cloak to it. It gets +1/+0, can't be blocked, and you can return the cloak back to your hand for 2 mana to then redo it again. It's a really cool card. Bit of RNG though, so because they don't know what's on top of their library there. It might not even be a creature. But I think we'll just shoot it now whilst we get the opportunity, because we're not doing anything otherwise. And we will just pass the turn. So we need an Arcane Bombardment or a Chimil here. So I'm not sure how we're going to get on against a control match. Once we get pop in, we should be okay. There is Union, which I think we'll just cast now. To draw a card and gain some life. Okay, negate. Alright, didn't expect them to negate that. I wonder if they've got lots of counter spells then. Or that they've just realised that negate is a good opportunity there to make sure that our life total doesn't go too high. Because we have kind of relied a little bit on our life total being higher than 20 for a large portion of the game, because we do need to survive till turn 6 or 7. Another opportunity for this Cryptic Cloak to come down to cloak the top of their library. Another 3/2 for us to deal with. I think the ward is causing me an issue here, because normally we would just shock these, but we can't. So let's play with fire at the opponent's face here. Let's see if we can find one of our big spells. And it's not how I really like to use these cards. Helix is a good one, but yeah, I'm digging for Chimil here. Or Bombardment, okay. Hopefully this resolves. This will open the door for us to potentially find an avenue to getting going. We need an engine moving here. They may well have some kind of interaction though for our Bombardment. They're in colours that can do that. There are plenty of ways. They can also flip their face down card here, which they choose not to. So probably not a creature, maybe just a spell. And they are carefully tapping their mana to return the Cryptic Coat back to their hand. Okay, so they do get lost. Okay, that's unfortunate. They get lost. They had get lost. They get lost our Bombardment. Okay, well, I'm not really sure what to do here. I think we have to do something. We have to keep as much pressure going as possible. Let's get some devils going, and then we can explore onto them and see what's on top of our deck. Really want a big score or something, because I really need to draw some cards. So this is our toughest matchup so far. There's a Bombardment, okay. Fortunately, we don't have a cheap spell to go with it. But we will just, I think we'll just sit back and pass the turn. We can block their face down card now. It does not have the cloak attached to it. And then we can, next turn, fingers crossed, get this Bombardment down. Well, it was a Resplendent Angel underneath that card all along. Okay, that is a good one for them to have cloaked. And they play the Cryptic Cloak again, or Coat again, so they're going to have a load of basically unblockable creatures for us. We really need some juice here because our Arcane Bombardment is pretty weak without a follow-up play here. If it resolves, that is. Yeah, and our Devils are very redundant at the minute. I guess all they're doing is stopping the opponent from returning that Cryptic coat and attacking with the 2-2 without it on there. Opponent with a Subterranean Schooner. It's a good one for them. And Surge Engine. Potentially another unblockable creature. Okay, we're in a lot of trouble here. We really need to find a cheap spell next turn. And then hopefully find a burn down the house potentially to get underneath the bombardment. Okay, big score. Big score can help. That could find 2 spells here. We've got the Jetmir's Garden we can discard. And we'll just cast whatever instants or sorceries we find. If it resolves, that is. Play with fire to go underneath the bombardment. Huh. I mean, this isn't that great, because if we target the engine, they're just going to pump mana into it to make it a 5/4. Yeah, this isn't a great game for us. The opponent's got creatures we can't actually interact with here. So we'll shoot the opponent's face. There's Union. I think we need some kind of... I think we might need something better than that. We've only got... Well, we haven't got any cards in our hand, so we wouldn't really be even gaining much life. But big score is still trigger, so we'll just use whatever instants or sorceries we get. Well, that was bad. We drew 2 lands there. And I don't think there's any way out of this. We're on 8 life. They've certainly outbested us with their plays in this game. This Cryptic Coat has been fantastic, I think. It's a card I've written down to explore playing more with because... Yeah, I mean, they got that Resplendent Angel down and it's just something to do each turn. If they've got nothing to counter or whatnot. And the line here is just make the engine unblockable and attack us for lethal. We don't have anything in our hand. They don't know that. But I'm sure they've got counter magic in their hand anyway. And yeah, this is going to be our first defeat with our Arcane Bombardment deck. And I think they owe it all to Get Lost there. Alright, on the play, we have our Chimil. We have a decent hand. So let's see how this one goes. Opponent is mulliganing. And the Restless Bivouac here is our turn 1 land. Opponent with a Swamp. And a Gorehound. So they're going to be surveilling. Alright, well, I'm playing untapped land there so that we can use either one of our burn spells if we need to. And they are looking like they're on Golgari. Another dog. Alright, well, I don't really want them surveilling if I can help it. We'll Sacred Fire. We'll gain some life. And shooting the dog is also going to save us a damage from that attacking us this turn. But they have another play. Okay. Alright, so they've got off to a relatively fast start here. With the Fairy Dream Thief and the Gorehound. But we should be okay if we can just keep hitting land drops and getting this Chimil down. Need to get back to winning ways a little bit here. Opponent looks like they're on Abzan. Fair enough. And there's Insidious Roots, okay. So going to be making plant tokens every time a card leaves their graveyard. So that's their plan. Dockside Chef, a good way to sacrifice creatures to get them into the graveyard. And as you can see, they've got some disturbed creatures in there. So I don't know if they're playing some kind of infinite combo deck or if they're playing a fair Insidious Roots. But we are just going to keep plugging away here. Union Third Path is a nice one. We find Elegant Parlor, which we can play. So, okay, there is a Burn Down the House on top. We're still on 28 life. That is key for us here. And Insidious Roots. Alright, so we have a back out, a get out clause with the Burn Down the House if they want to go crazy with their plants. But I think we'll just play the... Yeah, we'll play the tap land now because I can't see us dying this turn. They may well create a lot of plants here. But we have a burn down the house to deal with that. And Chapel's Shieldgeist is going to make 2 plants, 2 0/1 plants, and each of them is going to put a +1/+1 counter on each other plant on the battlefield. So they'll end up with a 2/3 and a 1/2. So we just got to be mindful of instant speed graveyard shenanigans to pump up these plants quickly on their turn when they're in attacks. So let's see what we want to do here. Sacred Fire, okay. Alright, well, we're on 24. I don't think we're going to die, so let's drop Chimil down. See what we discover into. Okay, well, we discover into burn down the house. You might say that's lucky, but that's in the deck. It's one of the cards we could draw. Anything that we drew there would have just gone straight to the opponent's face anyway. And I don't think they would have killed us. Another Insidious Roots for them. And Chaplain of Arms. Okay then, what can we do here? So they could pop off next turn with 3 Insidious Roots. So I think we'll just attack with the Restless Bivouac here. I guess they might just want to block this because they want this in the graveyard so that they can cast it from the graveyard as a disturbed creature to use with the roots. Chimil finds a big score for us to cast. And yeah, we'll just put the Sacred Fire back into the graveyard there. Draw 2 cards, create 2 treasures. We find a Helix and a Jetmir's Garden. So can they pop off now? I don't think they can kill us. And we have burned down the house and then burned down the house over the next couple of turns. So as you can see here, with 3 Insidious Roots on the battlefield and a disturbed creature, that is a lot of board presence for them very quickly. But we can just shoot the opponents here with the Lightning Helix. And we're very close to winning, aren't we? I was worried about the plants, but thinking about it, we might just be able to beat them. I'm going for the bombardment here. We have Chimil here to find something with our bombardment. We also have a lightning strike for their turn. There's Union. Okay, it's going to gain us some life. Draw us a card. What do we find underneath the bombardment? Big score. Sure. Discard our Jetmir's Garden. They can't kill us, can they? They can't do 33 damage to us on this turn. They're on 9 life. We have 2 lightning strikes in our hand. And then we have some devils from the burn down the house. So they are dead on our turn. Okay, well, they've tapped all their land. Let's attack the opponent's face. If they have to tap for mana, they're tapping their creatures. We do 3 damage to our opponent there. Trigger Arcane Bombardment. Finds a Sacred Fire. Okay, this might just be lethal straight up because we can do 2 damage to our opponent's face there. And big score triggers as well. And there is a shock and a lightning strike. So they're on 3 life and we can just lightning strike their face. The damage certainly added up on their turn there. And we could even follow it up with a shock. So yeah, that was a really good ending there. Quite a close game, I think. Alright, on the play. We have not had a hand with Arcane Bombardment in here, an opening hand, but we are finding this Chimil pretty much every game. The one game we didn't find it, we lost. So maybe, is this the key card? Is this the secret to standard? Opponent with a Cenote Scout. And that is a 2-2 on turn 1 for them. Which we could shock. I don't want to. It's a 2-2. I want to keep my shock back for something I actually want to shock. Evolving Adaptive is a card that can get out of hand quite quickly, but you can see that they've got a rookie in their hand. That's a card I want to hit. But I think we can just shock the opponent's adaptive here. And we've got Sacred Fire if we need it for next turn. Okay, there's Bombardment. So we have the Bombardment Chimil combo in our hand. We just got to stay alive and we should be good. Although they are in green, they might be able to deal with our board presence with something like Pick Your Poison. But We should be okay here, shouldn't we? We've got some Sacred Fire here to gain us some life, do 2 damage to this rookie. Doesn't look like they've got a protection spell. There's Lightning Strike, but let's draw first. Whilst we have maximum cards in our hand. Play our tap land, say go. So we're getting there, slowly, slowly. Could do with a big score. That is another rookie, which is going to gain power and toughness each time another creature enters the battlefield with a higher power or toughness than it. Rookie is a cool card, but it looks like they don't have a pre-combat play, and they've just passed the turn, so maybe they're mana screwed here on 3 mana. We're on 5. Fortunately, not able to cast one of our good spells, but we're in a pretty decent situation here. Don't think we'll do anything unless we have to react to some shenanigans by them. We're just looking for another land drop. There's Jetmir's Garden. Okay. Alright, so we're going to play Chimil next turn. And I think that might open up this turn for us just to clear some of the board a little bit. Let's Sacred Fire this rookie. And it looks like they've drawn something. They didn't have this earlier. Tamio safekeeping. Okay, well. Alright, I'm just going to Lightning Strike the rookie. Make sure it stays off the battlefield. I should have played those the other way around. We lost the 2 life gain. So we do go down to 11. But we can play some of our good spells now. Surveil away the plains. We don't want land on top. We need some juicy 1-drop spells. But Chimil here is going to be great. Discover 5 into Play with Fire. That deals with the Scout as it's only got 2 toughness. And yeah, we should be in a decent position here. Unless they can take out Chimil. Another Adaptive and Arcane Bombardment here should close out the game. We'll see if they see the writing on the wall a little bit with this little combo. If they don't, I reckon they've got something in their hand like a Nissa or something. We'll big score away the Lightning Strike. We can't actually play that with the mana we have open. And Play with Fire there, 1-1. And we've got to Play with Fire every turn now. And now we have 2 1-mana instants in our hand. So we're in a really good position here. And opponent does indeed scoop it up.